Hezbollah is very secretive. It gave the BBC exclusive access to its fighters on condition we don't show their faces and that we don't reveal the location where we met them, in the mountains of South Lebanon, close to the Israeli guns. They looked like professionals. Their weapons, training and orders come from Syria and Iran. Tell me, why do you think your soldiers are having such success against the Israelis at the moment? It's come from hard work, the officer said. We've had long and brutal experience of the Israeli army. We use our heads, our intelligence to fight them, and our men are devout Muslims. We'll have victory or martyrdom. Hezbollah has its own TV station. It films its operations against the Israelis, who denounce its attacks as terrorism. This roadside bomb on November the 16th killed 3 Israeli soldiers. Hezbollah has killed 4 others since then. Sheikh Naim Qasem is running Hezbollah at the moment. He says they're not terrorists, but legitimate fighters against an illegal occupation. Force, not diplomacy, works with Israel, he said. It's what makes them feel pain and will give us victory. Here in Beirut, the Lebanese government doesn't control Hezbollah, but it likes the way it fights Israel. The Lebanese have spent billions rebuilding the city since the civil war ended in 1990. Now, some Israeli ministers want airstrikes against Beirut's new infrastructure every time an Israeli soldier is killed by Hezbollah. That's infuriated Rafik Hariri, who's leaving office this week after 6 years as Lebanon's prime minister. He doesn't trust the Israelis.
They want us to be accountable. And if anything happened in the Israeli border, so Lebanon is accountable, and then Israel will have the free hand to do whatever they want. Because they are just stronger than us. They can do anything.
Tonight in South Lebanon, the Hezbollah fighters are on alert. Israel estimates it's killed about 60 of them this year. Hezbollah, though, says it has plenty more volunteers, but believes the Israelis are losing the heart to fight on. These men are fighting a classic guerrilla war. They're highly motivated, well-trained and well-organized, and they've made themselves into a match for Israel's best soldiers. What they're doing here is sending shockwaves right into the heart of Israel, and they may even succeed in driving the Israelis out. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News, with Hezbollah in South Lebanon.
Here, women smokers are more at risk of contracting the deadliest form of lung cancer than men, according to new research. The evidence from cases in 46 hospitals suggests women are twice as likely to develop small cell lung cancer, which kills more than half its sufferers within 6 months. Yet, as our social affairs editor Neil Dixon reports, more young girls are taking up smoking than ever before.
Professor Malcolm Green meets smokers every day at the Royal Brompton Hospital. Many of his patients are here because they became addicted to cigarettes. Mavis Plaxton has a chronic lung condition.
Like, we wasn't told when we was at school that, you know, it was bad to smoke.
Equally depressing for the staff here, the tobacco industry is busy recruiting replacements for the 110,000 Britons who will die this year because they smoked.
I've always been hoping that we'll be seeing less and less smoking-related disease. Unfortunately, we're not. It continues. And the problem is that young doctors qualifying today will be seeing as much smoking-related disease in 30 or 40 years' time as I'm seeing now. And it's deeply disappointing.
Most young people know the dangers, but knowing is one thing, doing something about it is another.
I was 13 and it was in the toilets at school.
I think it's more of a sort of mental thing. You think if you're stressed, a cig will calm you down, but I suppose anything could really. Cup of tea would, but...
This has been one of the big failures of health promotion. For while older smokers have been giving up in droves, the story among the young, especially among women, is deeply alarming. Take 15-year-old girls. Back in 1982, 1 in 4 smoked. Now, it's 1 in 3. What's more, the figures are the same for those in their late teens and early 20s. And behind these rises lies a huge difference between the better off and the poor. For while just 1 in 10 professional women indulge, more than 1 in 3 unskilled women are smokers. It's been a victory for the tobacco industry and the image it portrays. Glamorous links in fashion and on film have also perpetuated the myth that smoking is cool.
So they rushed me into hospital, in the city hospital. I says, that's cancer. And he said,
By
yeah.
contrast, the small sums spent on health promotion have struggled to compete. Their uncomfortable and uncompromising message increasingly ignored by the young.
35 and I'm like sometimes 60.
We're up against the odds of the tobacco advertising industry and all the other forces that are giving contrary messages, and so we just need to keep at it and keep saying, give up smoking or it may kill you.
Under new European law, the ads will soon be gone. The Health Department's wider strategy on smoking is expected next week. If it's to prevent a new wave of misery and death, it'll have to do more to reach the young and the disadvantaged. Neil Dixon, BBC News.
Teachers in England will hear details in the morning of proposals for radical changes in how they work and how much they're paid. They come at a time when many are giving up teaching for other jobs. The government discussion paper is likely to pave the way for performance-related pay, which is strongly opposed by the teachers' unions. A system already operates in Switzerland, as our education correspondent Mike Baker reports from Zurich.
Listen to it again and repeat.
My ankle was so painful, I can tell you.
My ankle.
Janine Herman teaches languages in a Zurich secondary school. With 10 years' experience, she earns £46,000 a year, a salary British teachers would envy. The average Swiss teacher's salary is double what it is in Britain. Zurich schools have no head teachers. The national curriculum is very flexible. In short, the teacher is king in their classroom. No wonder then that Swiss teachers have a high professional status, and there's no shortage of recruits.
Basically, I feel happy at the moment, especially with the freedom of teaching, and my salary is reasonable so that I can afford to also do further education on my own, go on holiday or go on traveling.
Yet while Switzerland seems to have the answers to the British problem of recruitment, it's now introducing changes that are upsetting its teachers. What's more, these changes involve the very same ideas on performance-related pay which the British government will announce tomorrow. The Zurich Pay by Performance scheme rests on regular inspections of teachers, judging them against set criteria, including results. The Zurich Canton's Minister of Education believes good teachers should get pay rises, while poor ones should be retrained or dismissed.
I would say in the whole economic life, a lot of people must see how others are promoted and some don't. I think teachers must learn to live in such a scheme, and we hope that we can motivate. In some case, it will demotivate, but you have the same problem in the private sector.
Teachers' representatives in Zurich fear performance-related pay is about cost-cutting and undermining their independence.
We just don't know, for example, is there enough money to pay everybody who performs well, or is this just sort of a closet way of cutting public spending?
Swiss education standards are high and teachers are highly respected. The lesson for Britain may be that if you pay teachers well and give them professional freedom, there'll be no shortage of recruits. Swiss teachers' dismay over performance-related pay could be a warning for the British government. The authorities here are well on their way towards imposing performance-related pay on teachers. But in Britain, it won't be so easy. For a start, there's a surplus of teachers here, unlike the shortage at home, and the Swiss teacher unions appear to be more compliant than their British counterparts. Mike Baker, BBC News, Zurich.
Council tax bills in England